It is a nation in turmoil, and continuing internet outages in Kazakhstan is causing some serious trouble for miners that had sought refuge there as a safety haven after China's ban just a few months before. Welcome to the Daily Forkast, January 10th, 2022. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forkast.News, covering all things blockchain. Well, Russian peacekeepers are now on the ground in Kazakhstan in efforts to restore order following anti-government riots. But internet connectivity remains patchy, and that's hitting the crypto mining sector. We're going to take a look at that story and a whole lot more coming up. Let's get you up to speed from Asia to the world. Well, let's kick off with some of the top stories coming out of Asia today. First up, Japanese video game giants Sega and Konami are facing a backlash over NFT project announcements. Konami announced an NFT collection celebrating the 35th anniversary of its hit Castlevania game series last week, while Sonic the Hedgehog creator Sega announced plans for an NFT project in April last year. However, the reaction from fans have been largely negative, with a lot of people saying, well, this shows only moves with a focus on profit. Sega's CEO responded and now says the company will reevaluate its plans if they are perceived to be simply money-making schemes. Well, it sounds like some more work needed in the public relations department. Over in China, just how many people have the e-wallet for the new digital yuan? Well, the pilot version of the People's Bank of China's e-CNY app has been available publicly for a week now. And according to data from an application monitoring service, Kuchuan, the app has been installed on just over 14 million on Android phones, while Apple's mainland China App Store has it ranked at number 2 among downloads of free apps. Now, according to data from Cimai, that equates to a little over 2 million downloads. So do the math. That's the thing here. While 16 million downloads within 7 days sounds kind of impressive, remember, this is a country of 1.4 billion people, and 16 million is an extremely small fraction of how many people can actually use the app in the biggest cities in China, like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and simply haven't downloaded it yet. So this is a conversion rate worth watching. You can find those stories and a whole lot more at Forkast.News. In Kazakhstan, the situation remains tense following protests triggered by a rise in fuel prices last week. But while Russian peacekeepers are now on hand to help with cleanup operations, internet outages remain a daily occurrence. And for a nation that is behind around a fifth of the global Bitcoin hash rate, that's a big issue. Forkast.News' Timmy Shen has more.
Kazakhstan emerged as a crypto mining hub in the wake of China's clampdown last year, and according to data from the Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, it was responsible for 18% of the global monthly hash rate share in August 2021. But after internet outages began last week, hash rates at major mining pools including Antpool, Poolin and Binance Pool fell significantly and remained down on the levels they were prior to January 4th, Monday morning Asia time. Internet monitor NetBlocks told Forkast.News that there was only limited internet access in the past few days, often coinciding with statements from the president, and this did not provide the stable connectivity required for cryptocurrency mining. However, it said there had been a significant restoration as of Monday morning. Bitcoin technology company Blockstream told Forkast.News that while an internet connection is essential for mining, that's not limited to terrestrial connections, as miners can choose to use satellite internet services as an alternate option. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan-based NFT artist MabLab told Forkast.News that they cannot connect with their community or mint new artworks as a result of the outages. They say the shutdown came as a total surprise, as everyday life is highly digitized in the country, with people using the internet for everything from connecting with friends to paying bills and buying groceries. With the situation remaining tense, could miners be looking to relocate? In a series of tweets, the founder of Miner Xive says such moves could be costly and that he remains hopeful as Kazakhstan's political stability is important to Russia, China, and the US. For Forkast.News, I'm Timmy Shen.
Well, illiquidity has long been considered a concern in private market investment, but could tokenization help unlock money flow and active trading? Who better to ask about the potential tokenizing the world offers than Henry Chang, CEO of Fusang. Fusang aims to reshape investment markets with blockchain technology, and it's great to have you with us, Henry.
Great to be here, Angie.
All right, so tokenization. How can it open up access to private companies and other illiquid assets? I mean, that's been a really big traditional problem.
I think one thing that the cryptocurrency markets have shown that when you can tokenize assets and open them up to a whole pool of global investors, some really exciting things start to happen. And certainly today, it's unavoidable the kind of flow, volume, and participation that we're seeing in the cryptocurrency markets. And if we can use the same underlying principle of tokenization and apply that to real-world assets like securities, shares, bonds, funds, real estate, a whole world of illiquid assets, open up access to a same pool of global investors, I think you'll start by both getting the access benefits that tokenization brings, and as an additional step, you can also start to think about how tokenization can really power communities around these companies, which is the other benefit that cryptocurrencies and tokenizations have shown is quite powerful.
So when you stoke this kind of interest, it also brings to mind how tokenization can possibly help private companies fundraise. How can that work?
We live in a strange world today where for some private companies it's easier than ever to raise money. We hear stories about how big unicorns have investors falling over themselves to give them money. But the honest truth is the world is much bigger than just these unicorn companies. And for the vast majority of SMEs and private companies out there, it's harder than ever to raise capital. If you think about it, 20 years ago, I could go to a bank with a business plan for a new, restaurant and start a company. Today, what are my funding options as a private company? Really, I can talk to friends and family, maybe I'll max out my credit cards, but realistically, that's it. Banks aren't going to lend me money. VCs they only invest in super high growth technology companies. And again, I think by being able to tokenize these assets and start to think about how can I offer these to a company's stakeholders, the people who already use my products as a company, my customers, my suppliers, the people who care about my company, and figure out how I can turn some of these stakeholders into shareholders, I think that is a unique and powerful source of funding for private companies.
And what about bridging the gap between public and private markets? How would you envision tokenization working there?
I think that's also a very curious fact about modern capital markets, where when you turn on Bloomberg and you hear about the companies being talked about, these companies are really a very small fraction of companies out there, 1% of companies in the world. And these don't always reflect the reality of the companies that we have all around us. And we hear stories about how bond yields, real interest rates are 0%. And again, there's too much money out there. I hear investors complain all the time that, there's too much money and the risk-free rate of return is 0. And yet, on the other hand, in private markets, there are people who can't borrow money to save their lives. There are people for whom, as I said, capital has just dried up totally. So something's broken fundamentally about the capital allocation mechanism. Imagine if you have a single mother working 2 jobs to feed her kids. Try going to her and saying that capital is free and there's too much money out there and the rate of borrowing money is 0%. Just say, what nonsense, right? For me, I live in a very different reality. And part of the reason why we're seeing such interest in the cryptocurrency markets is starting to bridge that divide, public and private. And really what will matter going forward, I think, is what communities am I a part of? Do I believe in participating in that community? And do I actually think that I can invest and get an ownership stake in that community?
It is about democratizing access, which I think is such a powerful thing. And that is the core of tokenizing the world. Thank you again, Henry Chang of Fusang, for joining us today. And that's the Daily Forecast from our vantage point right here in Asia. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit that alert button, share with your friends. We always appreciate it, and we always appreciate you. For more, visit Forkast.News. I'm Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. Until the next time.